She kissed me that morning just like she always did. Soft, warm, even loving. I was drinking my coffee, tying my boots for another 24-hour shift at the firehouse. She leaned over, touched my shoulder, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Be safe, okay?" I looked up, smiled, and said, "Always." And that was the last time I saw my wife as the woman I thought she was. Because just 6 hours later, I got served divorce papers at my workplace. No warning, no conversation. Just a knock on the station door and a manila envelope with her lawyer's name on it. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 42 years old. I've worked as a firefighter in a small town in Ohio for the past 19 years. I've seen lives destroyed by flames, homes reduced to ash, but nothing burned like the moment I opened that envelope. I remember it like it just happened. The guys were joking in the rec room. I was heating up leftover lasagna. Then the receptionist called me up front, said someone needed a signature. The man handed me a thick file. "I'm just the delivery guy," he said, and walked away. I opened it. Her name was there. Her signature, too. The heading said, "Petition for Dissolution of Marriage." Filed 3 hours after I left home that morning. She'd timed it perfectly. Kissed me goodbye, wait until I was busy saving someone's life. Then file for divorce without saying a word. That moment, it didn't feel real. I actually laughed. I thought, there's no way she'd do this without talking to me first. But the further I read, the clearer it became. This wasn't sudden. This was planned. I stood there frozen, hands trembling, mind racing. I couldn't breathe. How long had she been waiting to do this? And worse, who was she when I wasn't around? I kept thinking, this must be a mistake, some kind of misunderstanding. But it wasn't. It was the beginning of the most painful year of my life. A year that would tear down everything I thought I knew and reveal a truth I never wanted to see. But before I tell you how it ended, let me show you how it began. Because I didn't just lose a wife, I lost the illusion I'd built around her, the one she fed me piece by piece for over a decade. And the worst part? I never saw it coming. You know, people say you never really know someone. I used to roll my eyes at that, but now I know it's the cold, bitter truth. Because if you'd asked me just a few months before that envelope showed up, I would have told you I had a great marriage. Not perfect, but solid, real, built on trust. Her name was Laura. She was smart, kind, beautiful, the kind of woman you'd be proud to introduce to your family. We met at a 4th of July barbecue thrown by one of the guys from the station. She was holding a red plastic cup, laughing at something her friend said. And I swear, everything else around her went quiet. We started dating a few weeks later. It was easy, natural. We both liked quiet mornings, road trips to nowhere, and watching reruns of Seinfeld on Sunday nights. She called me her hero. Every time I came home from a call, whether it was a kitchen fire or a rescue, she'd be there with that smile, arms open, food on the stove. That woman made me believe I was the luckiest guy alive. We got married in a tiny church just outside Cincinnati. I still remember how nervous I was when she walked down the aisle. She looked like something out of a movie. White dress, soft curls, eyes locked on me. When we exchanged vows, she slipped her hand into mine and whispered, "Forever, okay?" I said, "Forever." We bought a modest 2-bedroom house near the station. She decorated it with sunflowers and soft blues. Every shelf had pictures, wedding photos, trips we took, goofy Polaroids from our first apartment. Our life, it was simple, predictable in the best way. I worked shifts. She taught 3rd grade at the local elementary school. We'd have dinner by 7, watch something on Netflix, and talk about maybe having a kid someday. We were even saving for it. She made Pinterest boards for nursery ideas. She said she wanted a boy, said he'd look like me and be brave like his dad. There were moments when I'd catch her watching me across the room with this look in her eyes, like she truly loved me. And maybe she did, once. But somewhere along the way, that look changed. It faded. At first I didn't notice. I was too caught up in life, In the routine, in work, long shifts, late nights, you start thinking fatigue is the problem, not the distance. You start blaming life, not each other. And then came the little things. She stopped packing my lunches, stopped waiting up for me, stopped kissing me on the lips, just a peck on the cheek, like someone saying goodbye to a coworker. When I asked if everything was okay, she'd smile and say, "Of course, I'm just tired." And I believed her. Because why wouldn't I? This was my wife, my partner, the woman who held my hand in church and promised me forever. And I was too blind to see the cracks forming. We had dinner with friends, family holidays, vacations to the mountains. She still laughed at my jokes, still called me babe, still sent me memes and TikToks while I was at the firehouse. But something was off. I remember one night we sat on the porch, drinking tea. She was quiet, staring out at the yard. I asked what she was thinking about. She paused and said, "Do you ever wonder if this is all there is?" I chuckled, thinking she meant life, the daily grind. I said, "Well, we make the best of it, right?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And I didn't press her, because I didn't want to see what was behind that look. I was too scared of the truth. Looking back now, that's the moment I should have known. That was the start of the slow unraveling. She wasn't asking about life. She was asking about us. And I gave her the wrong answer. At first, I blamed myself. I thought maybe I was too busy with work. Maybe I wasn't present enough. Maybe she needed more affection, more attention, more something. So I tried. I took an extra day off. I booked us a weekend getaway in the Smoky Mountains. She smiled and said, "That sounds nice." But her eyes didn't light up the way they used to. She barely touched her food that night. That weekend away, she spent more time on her phone than with me. Said she was checking on a sick coworker. I believed her. But deep down, something had changed. I just didn't want to say it out loud. I started noticing things. Her phone never left her side. It was always face down, always on silent. She used to plug it in and leave it on the kitchen counter at night. Now, she kept it under her pillow. One night while she was in the shower, a notification popped up. Just a name. Mike. Jim. No message, just a name. I didn't want to be that guy. Suspicious, snooping, jealous. But something inside me whispered, "Pay attention." I did, quietly. A few days later, I asked if she wanted to grab dinner at our usual spot, the Italian place where we had our first anniversary. She said she had a late meeting with the school board. I nodded, smiled. But I drove past the school that night. Her car wasn't there. I didn't know where it was. I didn't want to know, and yet I needed to know. I didn't confront her. Instead, I started keeping a little notebook in my drawer at work. Just small things. Times she left, times she came home, what she said, what didn't add up. The list grew, quietly, slowly. She started wearing perfume again, not the soft vanilla she used to wear. This was something new, sharper. She started going to the gym at odd hours, early mornings, late nights. Said it helped her clear her head. Once I offered to join her. She smiled and said, "It's kind of my alone time, you know." I nodded and wrote it down. Then came the locked screens. She'd tilt the phone away when she typed. She changed her passcode. I asked about it, casually. She laughed and said, "Oh, I updated all my passwords after that school hacking thing. Just being safe." Safe. Right. That's when I started waking up in the middle of the night. Not because of nightmares or calls from the station, but because her side of the bed was empty. I'd find her in the kitchen, phone in hand, whispering, typing. She'd say, "Just couldn't sleep." Neither could I. The more I watched, the clearer it became. She was slipping away. Emotionally, physically. She was building a world where I didn't exist, but I stayed silent because I needed to be sure. Then came the night I'll never forget. It was a Saturday. I was off duty. We had dinner at home, grilled salmon, roasted veggies. She barely said a word, just nodded, looked tired, scrolled her phone under the table. Later that night, around 2:07 a.m., I woke up to the glow of her screen. She was facing away from me, phone tucked low. I stayed still, pretending to sleep. She giggled, a soft, breathy laugh I hadn't heard in weeks. Typed something, waited. The phone buzzed again. I sat up slowly. She froze. I didn't say a word, just looked at her. She smiled awkwardly. Sorry, just talking to Maria. She's going through a breakup. I nodded, laid back down. But in that moment, something inside me shifted. It was no longer just suspicion, it was certainty. And it hurt, but not in the way I expected. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even shocked. I was cold, like a switch had been flipped. That night, I stared at the ceiling and thought, this is it. The woman I built my life around. She's already gone. And that's when I stopped trying to fix it. I started planning. It happened on a Wednesday, a day that started like any other. She kissed me goodbye at 7:08 a.m., just like always. Software quick, routine. Have a good day, babe, she said. But her eyes never met mine. By noon, I was at my desk in the station going over training reports. Nothing unusual until I opened my personal email. There it was. Subject, settlement proposal. Sender, Thompson and Wallace, divorce attorneys. I stared at it, blinking, confused. I opened the PDF. Her name, her signature, everything written out. Clean, legal, final. She had filed for divorce. That morning. No warning, no fight, not even a note on the fridge. Just a cold, calculated move. I sat there staring at the screen while the buzz of the office faded around me. It felt like someone had taken the floor out from under me. And still, I didn't cry. I printed the document, tucked it into my drawer, and walked out for coffee like nothing had happened. That night she came home late, said she was helping a friend move. She acted like everything was normal, like she hadn't detonated our entire life that morning. I didn't mention the email, not yet. I just watched her, the way she moved, the way she avoided eye contact. She was packing emotionally, preparing herself for a clean break. Only, she thought I didn't know. Later, while she was in the shower, I opened her laptop. She had forgotten to close her tabs. There it was, her Gmail, open. At first I hesitated, then I scrolled. Mike. Of course. Emails going back months, photos, jokes, plans. He wasn't just a fling, he was the next chapter, and I was the one being erased. One email caught my breath. I filed this morning, like we talked about. He has no clue. You and me, fresh start. My hands trembled on the keyboard, but not from rage, from clarity. This was no accident. This was betrayal, carefully choreographed. And in that exact moment, that's when I truly knew. She was never coming back. Not to me, not to who we were. The life we built, the vows we made, the quiet mornings, the road trips, the laughter, all of it had become inconvenient history for her. She wasn't confused. She wasn't lost. She was gone, and already with someone else. And still, I didn't yell. I didn't smash the laptop. I didn't confront her with the printed emails. I sat there in that silence and made a decision. No more chasing, no more saving, no more hoping. This wasn't a love story anymore. This was a war, and I was done playing nice. I didn't cry that night. I started planning. I didn't scream and I didn't call her out. And I definitely didn't tell her I knew. Because the truth is, the strongest revenge is calm. That night I sat in my truck outside the gym and thought about every move she had made. The late nights, the secretive smiles, the way she held her phone like it was gold. She thought she was ahead of me. She thought I'd roll over, sign the papers, walk away in shame. But she forgot. I've been trained to fight wars without ever raising my voice. So I got to work. First thing, I opened a new bank account in my name only. Transferred half of what was in our joint savings. Legally, I was entitled to it. She just didn't expect me to act first. Next, I called my buddy Ethan, former Army intelligence, now a private investigator. "Can you pull phone logs?" I asked. He didn't even hesitate. Within 48 hours, I had her entire call history, message timestamps, and cell tower pings. Every night she claimed to be with Amy, she was 3 towns over, near his apartment. I didn't just collect dirt. I built a timeline, printed it, bound it. I became a ghost in my own home, calm, polite, predictable. She never suspected I knew, never saw me coming. She still kissed me goodnight. She still made small talk over dinner. She was playing the part of the innocent wife while secretly texting him under the table. And I was archiving every word. I started recording audio in our home. I placed a tiny mic under the coffee table. She didn't say much when I was around, but one night I left for groceries and just sat in my truck, listening. She called him. "I'm almost done here," she said. "He's still clueless. Honestly, I don't even feel bad anymore." I clenched the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. But I said nothing, because I knew every word she spoke was one step closer to justice. I copied files from her laptop, the emails, the photos, the hotel receipts. I didn't touch a single thing. No confrontation, no accusations, only evidence and silence. Meanwhile, I met with a divorce attorney, one of the best in the state, told him everything. He leaned back in his chair and nodded. "You stay quiet," he said. "Let her walk into court thinking she's already won." I smiled for the first time in weeks. But it wasn't joy. It was control. I started therapy too. Not because I was weak, but because I needed strength that didn't come from anger. The therapist asked me, "Why haven't you confronted her yet?" And I said, "Because I want her to feel safe, right before the storm hits." Days turned into weeks. She continued her double life. Thinking I was blind, thinking she'd get the house, the car, the savings. She didn't realize I'd already frozen the assets, that her lawyer had been politely informed of pending evidence, that the judge assigned to our case was a former military family court specialist, number 000. She didn't see any of that coming. She was too busy making brunch plans with him, laughing on calls and imagining a future that didn't include me. But I was planning too. Not for revenge fueled by rage, but for something cleaner. Justice. The kind that doesn't need shouting, just undeniable truth. I stared at the calendar on my wall every morning, the court date marked in red. I trained my emotions like I'd trained in the Army, discipline over impulse. I reminded myself that victory wasn't about winning her back. It was about reclaiming myself. She had lit the match, but I was holding the fireproof shield. And when the day came, she'd walk into that courtroom smiling, thinking this would be quick. She had no idea what was waiting on the other side of those doors. And I was ready. The day had come. I wore a plain black suit, not flashy, just firm, the same way I used to dress before a mission. She arrived 15 minutes late, smiling, flashing that same confident look she always had when she thought she was 2 steps ahead. Beside her was the man she left me for, in a suit that probably still had the price tag on it. She didn't even glance at me. But that was fine, because I wasn't there to fight. I was there to finish. The judge, a quiet older woman with sharp eyes, called the case number. We stood. My lawyer gave her a polite nod. Hers didn't even bother to look up from his papers. He thought this would be quick, routine. She spoke first. She talked about emotional distance, about how I was cold, distracted, and too focused on work. I didn't say a word. Not yet. Then she pulled out a sheet of paper. Her proposal. She wanted the house, half my pension, full custody of the dog she never walked. Her lawyer nodded like this was standard. And then the judge turned to me. "Mr. Monroe," she said, "you have the floor." My lawyer stood, calmly. He placed a thick file on the judge's bench. Exhibit A, phone logs, text messages, GPS pings. Exhibit B, bank statements and suspicious hotel receipts. Exhibit C, a USB drive with audio recordings. One labeled 2:07 a.m. call, confession. And then I spoke. Not to accuse, not to shout, just to tell the truth. "I served 14 years overseas," I said. "I know what betrayal feels like, but I never thought I'd find it in my own home." I looked directly at her. She blinked. Once. "I didn't come here to fight," I continued. "I came to protect what's left of my name, my dignity." Then we played the recording. Her voice echoed through the courtroom. "He still doesn't know. Honestly, I don't even feel bad anymore. It's like he's already gone." Her lawyer froze. The judge didn't move. And for the first time, she looked at me, not like I was the enemy, but like I was the ghost she never saw coming. My lawyer turned to her and said, "We also have evidence she attempted to sell jointly owned property without consent. That file is in Section 4. It was over. Her smile vanished. The judge paused, took off her glasses and said, "I've seen many cases, but few so calculated. Mr. Monroe, you've demonstrated restraint, clarity, and respect for the court." She ruled in under 15 minutes. I kept the house. She forfeited any claim to my pension, and she was ordered to repay half of the legal fees due to attempted fraud. She stood up and whispered something to her new man, but he was already walking out the door. He didn't sign up for this part of her story. As I stepped outside into the sunlight, the cool wind hit my face. I should have felt vindicated, but what I really felt was peace. Not because I won, but because I never lost myself trying to chase her down. I didn't destroy her. I simply told the truth, and the truth did the rest. The same lips that kissed me goodbye were now silent. No apology, no excuses. Just silence. And that silence, that was my freedom. It's been 18 months since that day in court. The house feels different now. Not empty, just honest. I walk through the halls and there's no pretending, no double life hiding behind phone screens or polite smiles. I replaced the couch, donated the wedding photo frames, even painted the kitchen a different color, not to forget her, but to remind myself that this chapter belongs to me now. I still have the dog. Yes, she wanted him, but I feed him, I walk him. And when I come home late, he waits for me by the door. Every single time. Funny how loyalty works. I started running again. Not from anything, just for me. Some mornings I wake up at 5 a.m., hit the pavement, and let the wind clear my head. It reminds me I'm alive, and that I survived something I once thought would destroy me. And no, I haven't started dating again. People ask, "You still believe in love after what she did?" And you know what? I do. Because love didn't betray me. She did. Love is still out there, just not in the hands of someone who sees you as a backup plan. I spend more time with my brother now. He told me something I'll never forget. He said, "You didn't lose her. You lost someone who was already gone. You just finally stopped chasing her shadow." That hit deep. I kept the court documents, not out of spite, but as proof. Proof that I stood tall when I could have fallen apart. Proof that I didn't explode, I evolved. I also wrote a letter to my future self, a reminder to never ignore red flags, to never silence my instincts for the sake of keeping the peace. Because peace isn't pretending. Peace is truth. Sometimes at night I wonder if she regrets it, if she lies next to someone else and thinks about what she threw away. But I don't let those thoughts linger too long, because regret isn't my burden to carry anymore. Mine is the lesson that no matter how deep the cut, you can heal, as long as you choose not to stay bleeding for someone who walked away without looking back. She took the couch. She took the dishes. She even took the curtains. But she didn't take my soul. And from that, I rebuilt my life. Not for revenge, not for anyone else, but for me. I share this story not to shame her, but to show you, if you're going through something like this, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not weak for hurting, but you are strong if you stand back up. Stronger still if you heal quietly. Stronger if you move on with grace. Because the best revenge is living free. She took everything except my soul, and from that, I rebuilt my life. Not for her, not for revenge, but for me. If this story meant something to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stay strong.